Good afternoon, I'm Malcolm Jordan and this is your midday news fix for Monday the 13th of November. The country's biggest bank says its net profit, including gains and losses from economic hedges, fell 7% for the September year. Danica McLean has more.
ANZ says it's raising its bad debt provisions, anticipating more difficult conditions ahead. Its cash profit was up 10%. CEO Antonia Watson says it was a year of two halves, starting with a good performance due to tailwinds from the COVID fiscal stimulus and rapid OCR increases. But Watson says performance slowed in the second half as we entered a tougher economic environment.
Incoming Prime Minister Chris Luxon says National, ACT and New Zealand First have been exploring their manifestos top to bottom. Luxon says they're on the same page on law and order, productivity, improving the public service and promoting unity. He says there are still things to work through though.
Down to sort of issues where we have, a bit crunchier, but we can work our way through those. But it will just take time as we go through this week.
Meanwhile, Port Waikato voters can head to the polling booth from today ahead of next Saturday's by-election. It's triggered by the death of ACT's candidate before the general election. Here's political reporter Sophie Trigger.
Among those on the ballot paper is New Zealand First's Casey Costello and incumbent National MP Andrew Bailey, both already in Parliament on the party list. The seat is not being contested by Labour, the Greens or ACT. Bailey's expected to retain Port Waikato, bringing in another on National's list, making this person the 123rd and final member of the new Parliament.
New Zealanders are finally making it out of Gaza. MFAT says 11 Kiwis left overnight, met at the border by Egypt-based consulate staff. In Gaza, there are warnings Al-Shifa Hospital is in a catastrophic state and the next largest hospital is also reportedly out of action. Waikato University law professor Alexander Gillespie says international humanitarian law has protections for medics and hospitals.
The protection can be removed if the hospital or the medical staff were doing a military purpose, like storing weapons or shooting was coming from the hospital, but there's a very strong presumption against hitting it.
A researcher is raising alarm bells over youth vaping rates. Latest figures show New Zealand has the second highest rate of vaping in the developed world, with more than 8% of over 15s vaping every month. Auckland University's Kelly Burrows hopes the incoming government will further tighten regulations.
Reducing the number of flavours that are on the market, properly banning disposable vapes. At the moment, they're still freely available and they're really cheap, those disposable vapes, which are the ones that kids often use.
Wellington's harbour master says it's an unusual coincidence. A second Cook Strait ferry has been damaged, hitting a wharf. Inter-Islanders Kairahi hold its hull while docking late last night. A Bluebridge ship had a similar, more minor knock last week. To sport. Manchester City's been held to a 4-4 draw by host Chelsea in football's Premier League, despite leading 3 times. The result gives City a 1-point lead over Liverpool and Arsenal after 12 completed rounds. Swimming New Zealand will take an 8-strong team to Doha for February's World Aquatics Championship, led by Erica Fairweather and Lewis Clareburt, who have qualified in multiple individual events. And Canada have secured their maiden Billie Jean King Cup women's team's tennis title, defeating Italy in Seville. I'm Malcolm Jordan, that's your latest news fix. We'll be back with the next update at 5 p.m. from the Newstalk ZB newsroom.